The Gemara in Berachot, Daf Daled Amud Bet. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Avina. Rabbi Elazar says in the name of Rav Avina, Kol haomer Tehillah leDavid bechol yom gimel pa'amim. A person who says Mizmor Asher Yeshvei V'techa, the Mizmor 145, which is called Tehillah leDavid, 3 times a day, muftach lo shu ben ha'olam haba. He is promised, he is guaranteed to be ben ha'olam haba, to have a great portion in the world to come. My ta'ama, the Gemara asks, what's the reason? What's so significant about this Mizmor? If we say it's because it has the entire Aleph Bet, so the Gemara says there's a better Mizmor, Mizmor Kuf Yutet, the 119th Mizmor. It says it's called Ashrei Timimei Darech Holchim B'Torat Hashem, and it has each pasuk in the Aleph Bet 8 times. So say that one. That'd be a very long tefillah. We'd say that 3 times a day, but says the Gemara, say that one. So obviously it's not because of the Aleph Bet. So the Gemara says, all right, so what's the reason? Maybe it's because of the pasuk Poteach et Yadecha, a very powerful pasuk which signifies the koach, the strength of God, that He sustains the entire world. He gives us our parnasah, He sustains us and gives us our food and money. So says the Gemara, if that's the reason, then I have a better mizmor for you to say. Halel HaGadol, there's a mizmor, Hodu LaHashem Ki Tov Ki Olam Hasdo, and it's 26 Ki Olam Hasdos. And the second to last one says, Noten lechem lechol basar. Hashem gives bread to each and every human being. Ki le'olam hasdo. Forever is His greatness, His kindness. So that would have been better. So the Gemara concludes and says, Mishum de'id betarte. Because it has both. It also has the Aleph Bet, and it also has the Mizmor Poteach et Yadecha. So this is not a dush, it's a halakha class. So what's so important about this? The Shulchan Aruch writes, and his source is actually Rabbeinu Yonah on the Gemara in Berachot, and it's in Siman Nun Aleph, Sif Zayin. Tzarich lechaven bepasuk poteach et yadecha. A person has to have intent and concentrate when he says the pasuk poteach et yadecha masbi'a lechol chai ratzon. V'im lo chiven, if he did not have the proper intent and the pshat, the simple intent, which we'll explain in a second, tzarich lachzor uleomro pa'am acheret. He does not fulfill his obligation. He has to repeat it. Rabbeinu Yonah learns it from the significance of the Gemara. The Gemara says, you're a ben olam haba, such a powerful thing. And therefore he concludes, and he says, Amud geonim arishonim. He says, prior to him, the great geonim, the great chachamim of his time, or prior to him, said that if you did not have this kavanah, you have to repeat that, at least that pasuk. So the Shulchan Aruch has posek this la'alacha le'maaseh. What is it that we have to have kavanah? In many sidurim, many mahzorim, there are many different kavanot, intents, printed, and a lot of people make the secondary things the main thing, and they make the ikar secondary. Chaz v'shalom. The pshat, a pashut, is that Borei Olam is literally, He controls the entire world. Our parnasah comes from Him. It's not based on your efforts and your intellect and how smart you are and the connections that you have in China, in India, wherever it might be. It doesn't have to do with anything. It's only in the hands of Borei Olam. Of course you have to do istadlut, but that's the pshat of the pasuk. Hashem, we open our hands, many people, as the Sfaradim minhag, the Ben Ish Chai in Torah Lishma, he writes that it's a common custom to do, and many of us do that. But it doesn't mean that I open my hands and I bring parnasah. People think, I open my hands and I bring my parnasah. No. Hashem opens His hands, so to speak. It's a figure of speech. And He sustains each and every one of us. He gives us our food and our parnasah. So that is the most important kavanah. Not the Rashi Tevot. We all are familiar with the Pei Aleph and then Yud. It's an acronym of a holy name. That's secondary. This is not the class, not the time. And I don't really understand the depth of it. But the pshat is, understand that Hashem gives us our sustenance. So just to conclude with a very important halakha. What happens if a person did not have that kavanah? The Shulchan Aruch said clearly, you have to repeat it. But let's say you remembered in Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Bekodsho. You're at the end of Pesukei de Zimra. So wait a second, I completely forgot Poteach et Yadecha. What do you do now? So the Kaf HaChaim, he brings one of the great Rishonim, the Ochot Chaim, and he asks, why do we say it 3 times a day? 1 time would be enough. He says, why? Ki im adam pasha. If a person, unfortunately, didn't have the proper intent the first time, they gave you a second chance. Not the second, they gave you a third chance. 1 out of 3, you should hit the bullseye. Hopefully you should have the proper intent. So says the Kaf HaChaim based on this, that if a person didn't have the kavanah, then you could, don't go back. Do it later on. Do it in after when you say it after the hazara, after the repetition we say again, and if not there, do it in minha. But why risk saying an interruption in the middle of Psukei de Zimra and going back and saying it there? That's a chidush of the Kaf HaChaim. Because the Shulchan Aruch writes, he says, go back. He doesn't say wait till you do it there. It's not the pshat of the Shulchan Aruch. So therefore, Chacham Avadia disagrees with the Kaf HaChaim. He says it's the pshat of the words of Shulchan Aruch, and you have to go back. But how do you do when you go back? So the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan Tet Zayin, he quotes the Hayei Adam, who says that you have to go back to Potech et Yadecha, and then continue from there on. Because you can't just say the pasuk Potech et Yadecha, and then what? You're going to go back to Hallelujah Hallelujah B'Kodsho? So no, at least say Tzadik Adonai B'Chodecha, V'Chasid B'Chol Masav, Karov Adonai B'Chol Koreav, etc. That's what the Mishnah Berurah writes. But that too Chacham Avadia disagrees with, and he says to simplify in Halacha L'Maaseh, just say the pasuk wherever you are. Potech et Yadecha Masbiach L'Achol Charatzon. The Ben Ish Chai in Parashat Vayigash in Halacha Yud Bet says the same thing. Wherever you are, wherever you remember you didn't have kavanah, just say the pasuk Potech et Yadecha Masbiach L'Achol Charatzon. Chazak u'Baruch Rabbotai.